Avengers vs. X-Men is one of the most aptly titled events in the history of comics events. It is
the two premier flagship families of Marvel Comics.
Slamming right against each other, butting heads.
You're going to get to see who's stronger.
It is truly the one Marvel event you can't afford to miss.
There's never been an Avengers vs. X-Men super blowout, so it's almost like we have to do it.
First time we all sat down after Axel was editor-in-chief, and Axel was like, X-Men versus Avengers, it's time.
Pair these great writers with three of Marvel's biggest artists.
John Romita Jr.
Olivier Coipel.
Adam Kubert.
They're top of their game, top of the field.
This is it. This is a big damn story.
It literally has everything a fan of superhero comics could possibly want.
We're going to go, balls to the wall, widescreen, big ideas, big action, big moments.
Like Civil War, there will be a winner and there will be a loser.
Only one's going to come out on the other side.
It's going to impact every book that we have.
We as creators are scared of it. We're nervous.
We're doing it. It is bigger, badder, and more berserk than anything Marvel's ever done.
Hello and welcome. My name is Marvel Comics Senior Editor Nick Lowe, and I'm coming to you live from the offices of Livestream in New York City. And you're watching us on Marvel.com or Livestream.com. Yesterday, Marvel announced the biggest comic event of 2012, perhaps of all time, Avengers vs. X-Men. It'll be a 12-issue series starting in April, bringing the two biggest franchises in comic books together in the biggest fight you've ever seen. We're bringing all our tools to bear, our best writers, our best artists, our best characters, and you lucky fans are going to really benefit from all of this. Today, we have the 5 writers of Avengers vs. X-Men with us, and we're going to introduce you to all of them. First, we have Avengers and Ultimate Spider-Man writer Brian Michael Bendis. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
We have Captain America and Winter Soldier writer Ed Brubaker. We have Wolverine and the X-Men and Incredible Hulk writer Jason Aaron.
Hello.
We have Fantastic Four, FF, and S.H.I.E.L.D. writer Jonathan Hickman.
Hey guys.
And we have Fear Itself and Defenders writer Matt Fraction. And so today we're going to be talking all about what this big event is, hitting all the details. We'll be asking some questions to our creators, and even you fans will get to ask your questions. And then at the end, we might even drop into your separate Google Hangouts. This is the first event of this kind that Marvel has ever done, so we hope you enjoy it. And so we are going to start off with some questions for our writers, and we'll go in a pretty similar order there. Brian.
Yes.
Can you tell us how your Avenger stories over the last few years have led up to this moment?
Well, we've had a very interesting arc for the Avengers throughout the what we call the heroic age, and what's been going on lately is that the Avengers are all kind of being tested exactly what it means to be an Avenger, what their place is in the world, and what the world actually thinks of them. You'll be seeing this a lot in the upcoming issues, how the world is actually perceiving the Avengers with, one harrowing disaster after the other. Nazi robots flying around Manhattan and Skrulls and all this stuff. It takes a toll on a society, and the Avengers are kind of left to take the blame for it, as it were, and they're going to want answers from Captain America. Also, inside the Avengers, we have a couple of, the most iconic X-Men. We have both Wolverine and Storm kind of redefining themselves as characters, not only as X-Men, but as heroes in the Marvel Universe. So all of these elements are going to lead up to what happens in Avengers vs. X-Men. Also, we have the what's been going on with the Scarlet Witch since way back in 2003.
And the dogs.
And her little dog too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Now we'll go to Jason. Jason, you've been doing a lot of work in the X-Men universe with Schism and now Wolverine and the X-Men. how have you been laying down track leading towards Avengers versus X-Men?
Well, I think this is something the X-Men have been headed towards, even before I got involved, before Schism. This has kind of been building for a while. We've seen the X-Men really pushed to the limit like never before. I mean, once upon a time there were millions of mutants, and then one day, that number dwindled down to a couple of hundred because of what the Scarlet Witch did. So since then, the mutants have been fighting against extinction. And out of that, they got a glimmer of hope, literally, in a girl named Hope, who has become the mutant messiah. I mean, she was the first mutant born since the Scarlet Witch took a bunch of mutants away. And her birth led to there being more mutants suddenly, more lights on Cerebro, a few more mutant bursts. So she is the mutant messiah. I mean, it's not conjecture as far as Cyclops is concerned. Without her, mutants would be falling towards non-existence. So, that's where the mutants have found themselves for a while now. And then coming out of Schism, obviously Cyclops in some sense has had to become a little harder edged, in that he had a big philosophical split with the guy who had been his most trusted advisor for so long, and that's Wolverine. So now as we head into Avengers X-Men, Cyclops is still holed up in San Francisco, still very much on a military stance, still fighting for survival as far as he's concerned, and he has to protect this young girl who is the messiah that they've been waiting for so long. And that young girl, Hope Summers, is still trying to figure out what her destiny is. And then on the other side, you've got Wolverine, who enters Avengers X-Men in a very weird place, and then he's on the outs with a lot of the people who have been his friends for years, and he's an Avenger. Beast, who stands beside him, is an Avenger, so it puts him in a very interesting place, I think, headed into this fight.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. We're going to go over to Matt Fraction. Now, Matt, you got to write one of the biggest fights in the Marvel Universe, Hulk versus Thing in Fear Itself. Which of the matchups are you looking most forward to writing?
There's it's sort of like having all of the toys in the toy box at once available to fight each other. Writing just as a leadership strategery battle, if you will, between Cyclops and Captain America is going to be a lot of fun. To kind of put the two leaders, at each other. Having Hope kind of finally have, I don't want to get too far into it, but I love Hope, and I love writing Hope, and she was one of my favorite parts about my time on Uncanny and in the X office, and getting to write Hope at her best is I'm psyched for. And Wanda's back, Scarlet Witch is back, and she's been gone for a while. So the opportunity to write Scarlet Witch tearing it up is pretty exciting too. There's a lot of plot specific stuff I don't want to get too far into, but we get to see a new armor for Iron Man at one point, which is and with a very specific foe in mind. So getting to put Iron Man in this new suit is pretty great. And then Thor gets up to some big time cosmic colossal shenanigans, I think is the technical term. I'd have to Google it, but
Someone look that up.
There's plenty. There's a plethora, if you will, of great fights to write.
Absolutely, awesome. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome, Nick.
Next, we have Ed Brubaker. You've written both Captain America on your lengthy run and Cyclops when you were writing Uncanny X-Men. What strategies do you think are important for each of them to employ as they lead their teams into this brawl?
Well, they're really similar characters in a lot of ways because, they're both sort of patriotic for their own people, sort of. So, and they're both very much the kind of guys who will do whatever it takes to get the job done. I think Cyclops is more willing to make sacrifices than Steve Rogers probably is at this point in his life. So it's going to be an interesting thing watching these two go head to head as generals. I'm really that's one of the things I'm most excited about as a reader of this event, reading the scripts from the other guys, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ed.
You are welcome.
Next, we have Jonathan Hickman. Jonathan, you haven't really written any X-Men or Avengers stuff at this point.
Why are you here?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Who let you in?
All right, let me get to my question. All right. As an outside perspective, who would you pick to win this battle?
I don't know, Nick. It's a hard question because we kind of already know the answer, right? But pretending that I don't know the answer.
Well, clearly, Nick, the answer is the readers.
Yeah. I think it's I think it's kind of one of those things that anybody could win. That's the good thing about it, and that's the beauty of when we do line-wide stories that aren't just kind of Hulk-centric or FF-centric or Avengers or X-Men. The beauty of this is that we could come out with a new Age of Apocalypse or a new House of M or the Uncanny Avengers or the Mighty X-Men. There's just no telling, and that's kind of my favorite Marvel stuff, when everything cross-pollinates and whatnot. I suppose
Absolutely.
if I was forced to pick, pretending that I didn't know, I'm not a big Avengers fan, so I would pick the X-Men.
Heck yeah. Heck
You
yeah.
would be wrong.
I like that answer. I like that answer.
Nick is pushing favorites.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But thank you guys so much. Now, also in the studio with us, we have Editor-in-Chief Axel Alonso and Executive Editor Tom Brevoort. Now, they're going to talk for a little bit about this event right now. Now, Axel, this is pretty much the first big event since you became Editor-in-Chief. Can you tell us how it came about and a little bit about what the process has been?
Sure. Well, the seeds for this event, I think, were planted many, many years ago in House of M, and they continued to grow in the Psi Complex, the X-Men event. The moment that there was a little girl named Hope with green eyes and red hair, it raised big questions. Who is she? And, it raised the specter of the Phoenix. I think that we all knew at that point that we were headed toward a story that probably had ramifications for more than just the X-Men. So going into a summit, I began my conversation with Brian, who is Avengers writer, and Tom, who's Avengers editor, and said, look, guys, maybe this is the time we do it. And we began the discussion about, we'd always talked about Avengers X-Men, like, how would we do this? And what we were lacking is that inciting incident and that hook that would make the stakes real and universal and equal for both sides. And after a very short conversation, it became clear to the three of us that we had a real possibility to do this story, and that it seemed to be the kind of thing that would benefit from being workshopped by some of our best writers. So that's basically the way it came about. I'm thrilled. For me, what's exciting about this, besides just the fact that Avengers X-Men has appealed to the fanboys and to people that go to the Cineplex, is that it's an event that like Civil War, will ask people to take sides. But it's an event that is being done in a different way from how we've traditionally done events. We've got this story being workshopped by 5 writers. Our motto is being 5 fingers make a fist. And that's what we're doing. We've come together as a team, and we're all working toward the greater good, and I think the story's benefiting from it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Axel. Now, Tom, you are Avengers editor, but you've also edited the biggest events in the last several years at Marvel. What makes this event different?
Avengers Vs XMen is structured and set up completely different from any event we've ever done. For one thing, we have a team of 5 writers. So rather than one guy writing the entire event, we're going to have 5 guys, each of whom are going to do a section of the event. The way we built the story, we got everybody together for 2 or 3 big meetings, including the first one at Brian's house. He was very nice to host us. It was a lovely affair, where we hammered out the overall storyline in great detail. From there, Brian and Jason kind of built us a skeleton, and then all 5 writers and the editors piled in. We dickered around with that a little bit.
And then individually, each writer got assignments for individual issues. So Brian wrote the first issue, Jason wrote the second issue, and so forth and so on. The 12 issues are going to be coming out twice a month, so it's going to be very rapid fire in terms of how these events hit. But it really is like running a relay race, that rather than just having a single writer and a single voice, we have a chorus of voices, and yet each individual issue is being set up and structured and positioned in such a way that that writer's sort of take and point of view and individual voice can come across. That when you read the Ed Brubaker issue, it's going to read like an Ed comic, and when you read Matt's issue, it's going to read like a Matt comic. And yet the story itself will hopefully be seamless through the whole 12 issues. So it's like doing all of the individual events, but kind of all at once.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tom.
Now, thank you, Nick.
Oh, it's my pleasure, of course. Now, Axel, what matchup are you looking forward to the most?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I've begun taking out my action figures to act out some of these scenes and put a couple up on YouTube at this point. And I have theories about
Wait, you made those?
I have some theories, but I think that they're ripe with spoilers, so I'm gonna duck that question, Nick.
Gotcha. And now one last question for Tom. Exactly how intimidated are you that the franchise that you edit and the franchise that I edit are going up against each other? All right.
Next question.
All right.
What franchise is that, Nick? I forget.
Nick Lowe Comics.
Nick Lowe.
All right, and that is all we have for our questions here. But now we're going to go out to fans who've been sending their questions in via Marvel.com and Twitter. And so we're going to start up here. Let me get
Tom, can I get that cackle as my ringtone?
I'll send it to you after the event.
Thank you, sir.
Maniacal laugh.
Maniacal laugh.
Maniacal laugh.
Absolutely. Okay, so here we go. We got our first reader question. This is from Twitter, from @ZPM. Will we get to see Loki working with or against Magneto? Anyone want to feel that? Matt, you write.
Matt.
Matt, you write Thor.
Yeah, that's a boy. Wouldn't they get up to shenanigans? I keep using that word, but that's but one of many intriguing possibilities. I don't want to speak too much for what Kid Loki's going to get up to, but stay tuned. You'll be happy.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Our next question.
You're welcome, Nick.
Our next question comes from the live stream chat from Levi Tompkins, who asks, how does this deal with the previous Phoenix stuff like the White Hot Room? Why don't we go over to Wolverine the X-Men writer Jason Aaron?
That's a good question. I wish Greg Pak was here. He could help me. Certainly we're trying to deal with the Phoenix in a way that honors everything that's been done with the Phoenix before. From the Claremont stuff up through the Grant Morrison stuff and those Greg Pak minis. But we want to make it accessible. You don't need to coming into AvX. You don't need to know the whole story of the Phoenix. You don't have to have read the Jean Grey Dark Phoenix story. Certainly, if you've read that stuff, that'll add to the flavor. But this is still a new reader-friendly take on the Phoenix, so you'll be able to jump right in and understand exactly what's going on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. Our next question comes from the live stream chat from Edmund McFarlane. Does X-Sanction factor into this story? Tom, why don't you field that one?
That's a good question, and the answer is yes. That Avengers X-Sanction, the first issue of which ships next week, I believe it is in fact a prelude and a lead-up to AvX and the events of AvX #1. What we haven't been talking about in all of our initial solicitations for the series is that the specific events that Cable has come back in time with 24 hours to prevent are the events that are leading towards AvX and the things that happen in AvX. So that story is in fact sort of a lead-up. It will have an effect on AvX, and it is absolutely vital in terms of our road. It is the opening shot, the opening gun of AvX.
Excellent.
So everybody buy that.
So now we're going to go back to Twitter. This one is to, and I know reading these tweet signs is going to definitely get us in trouble at some point, but is from Austin Estebar.
Hold on, I gotta go start a Twitter account.
Yes. Will it be Phoenix Jean Grey herself that's coming back, or is it just the Phoenix Force? Axel, why don't you talk to us about this one?
This is one that I'm going to punt. What I'll tell you is that the Phoenix Force is headed back to Earth. All signs point to the fact that it might be headed toward a host who's got green eyes and red hair. And for anybody who's been wondering who Hope is and what her destiny is, what, if any, link she has to Jean Grey, and what, if any, link she has to the Phoenix Force, those questions are about to be answered.
And Wanda.
And Wanda, exactly.
Absolutely. Excellent, thank you. Next comes from Twitter user DarkoZ, and he asks, why this war, why now, and when is the Prelude coming out? Well, I'll answer the last question first. The Prelude, what he's referring to is we're coming out with an Avengers vs. X-Men number 0 issue. There's a Prelude that comes out in March before the whole event kicks off in April. But as for why this war and why now, why don't we go over to Brian Bendis?
Because the elements of the X-Men and the Avengers are actually organically coming to this place in their story. They're actually sort of guided towards each other by both the arc of the Scarlet Witch and the arc of Hope. Now, what's interesting, the person who brought up the Prelude, I saw some confusion online. The Prelude is all new material. It's not recaps or stuff from House of M. It is brand new material, one story by me and Frank Cho about the Scarlet Witch today, and one story by Jason Aaron and Frank Cho about Hope today. The book is absolutely beautiful. Everyone who's seen the art will tell you it's just one of Frank's crowning achievements in comics, and it will, for those not familiar with the characters or need to understand exactly where their mindset is right now, it'll all be in that AvX 0, and that in that book you will see why this story is happening now. And nothing's more important than that there's a giant fiery bird headed towards Earth that brings with it destruction everywhere it goes. So that's why now.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian. We're going back to Twitter for this next one. This is from Scott Ziolko. What are the chances of finally getting the much anticipated D-Man versus Maggot fight we've been waiting for with bated breath? I think that's a Jonathan Hickman question if I've ever heard one.
Well, we've done the math carefully, and it's 0.
That was a long equation that you had to answer in that notebook of yours.
Yeah. He checked it and checked it again.
Next we have Twitter user Victor D. Arc saying, I remember someone said that Hawkeye will be a key player in 2012. Will he be among main characters in AvX? Let's see. Matt, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. No, Hawkeye is absolutely a big part. Without getting too specific, there's something very specific about his methodology, about the old Barton way of thinking about problems that is markedly different than a lot of the other players on the board, and he's a kind of a wild card.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you. Next we have from Marvel.com live blog, Spidey Ellis asks, whose side will the Fantastic Four be on? Jonathan, why don't you answer that one?
I'd rather hear Jason answer that one.
Fair enough.
I would too. Shoot, Jason.
Go ahead, Jonathan. That's all you.
This is really in the main book. I mean, we will of course do our peripheral stories, especially in the X-Men and Avengers books, because they tie in so neatly to this. But I'm sure we'll do other peripheral books, and while I'm sure the Thing will be involved heavily because he's an Avenger and whatnot, we're trying to be really careful because our cast is already so large. So some, not front and center.
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Next we have from Marvel.com live blog, Rafael Rodriguez asks, he's a huge Ms. Marvel fan and Psylocke fan. Will those girls be part of AvX? They didn't see them in the promo art. The biggest Psylocke and Ms. Marvel fan on this panel is obviously Ed Brubaker. Ed, why don't you field this one?
I beg to differ.
Oh!
What was the question? Sorry. Not only is my dog barking, but the gardeners just showed up to start doing the leaf blowing. I was like, oh god.
The question was
Psylocke
about
versus Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, are we going to see either of those two characters in AvX?
Yes, both of them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I already saw both of them in some page that Brian sent me.
Next question is from the Marvel.com live blog from Arvel Poe. How will this affect T'Challa, the Black Panther, and Storm? Who will they side with? Brian, you want to field this one?
Black Panther's allegiance is to the Avengers, while Storm's allegiance is very split down the middle. Not only with her time on both Avengers and X-Men, of course she has spent much more time on the X-Men, but the decision in front of all of the Avengers and X-Men is an individual choice, and her choice will be heard very loudly because she's one of the, obviously one of the main X-Men. So a big one for Storm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Next we have from Twitter user CompuBinks. Will Wolverine go against himself with this event, and how will this affect the school?
Claude.
Jason, how about you answer this one?
Yeah, he won't fight himself, but I mean, certainly he's in a weird predicament. And yeah, that's a big question. Which side of the fence was Wolverine going to fall on? I mean, he's had his differences with Cyclops, but he's been an X-Men and a mutant a lot longer than he's been an Avenger. So puts him in an odd spot, as well as those people who sided with him, like Beast and Iceman and Kitty and all those folks. So yeah, that'll be an interesting question to watch unfold. See which side they fall on.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going back to Twitter for this next one from a name that I can't pronounce. It's just nonsense. What role will other teams like the Defenders play in this series? Matt, you want to field this one?
That's sort of very much still in the early days of the Defenders book, which is on sale today. So Defenders will be sort of in there, at least within the pages of Defenders, kind of keeping to their... The first year is very important for us, and we're kind of right in the middle of that kind of falls at a weird time, so it didn't make sense for there to be a direct Defenders tie-in within the Defenders series, but some of the characters, one very much in particular, is going to be popping up with an incredibly important role to play.
Awesome. And Tom had something to add as well that he wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, just to make it as clear as we can for everybody, because obviously this is a big story. It's going to affect the entirety of the Marvel Universe, but we're very, very sensitive to the fact that people feel a little shell-shocked by the number of big events we've done and the number of crossovers and tie-ins that we've done. So while there will be tie-in stories to AvX, we're going to be limiting those almost exclusively to Avengers titles and X-Men titles, books that already exist. So Avengers, New Avengers, Secret Avengers, and whatever the heck the X-Men titles are. I don't bother with those so much. And not really expanding out much beyond that into any other books. There might be one or two others, and there's a very important sister title to AvX that we're not quite ready to tell you about yet. But in terms of there being tie-in issues of Fantastic Four, Defenders, or Iron Man, or all the other books, Hulk, we're looking to not really do any of that. We'll be keeping the bulk of the story within AvX proper. It's one of the reasons why it's 12 issues long. It's one of the reasons why it's going to come out twice a month. So hopefully that answers a bunch of questions and puts some minds at ease. But there'll still be plenty of AvX goodness to go around in the myriad of Avengers and X titles that we've got.
Absolutely. Excellent. Next we go back...
sister title, Lady Avengers versus Lady X-Men?
Sister Avengers and Sister X-Men, actually. They're all nuns. It's the nuns. Yep.
X-Men girls.
Next we have from Livestream chat, Walt Robillard asks, where are the villains? Where are the villains? Axel, do you want to...
Didn't you hear Tom's laugh?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to say anything about this, Axel, or?
The villains are busy doing their bad stuff. Yeah. I mean, look, everybody's got a stake in this. It'll be interesting to see where they fall. Certainly, if I was Dr. Doom and I saw a comet headed toward Earth that was going to raise the planet and destroy everything and create something new, I'd be a little bit concerned. So I'd expect that, many of your favorite villains will have a position on this at some point in the course of the story. That said, keep in mind that the primary players in this story are going to be characters that you associate most closely with the Avengers and the X-Men. It won't be a shock to you that Captain America and Cyclops will probably take foreground roles in this story, as well as the other characters we mentioned.
Excellent. Next, we got a very important question from Twitter. Give us some info about the artists. Who's drawing the series, and what can we expect to see them bring to the series? Well, this is one of the coolest things about this. We have 3 of our biggest artists from Marvel drawing this series. We've split the event up into 3 acts, basically, that will each be multi-issues. On the first act, we have perennial Marvel superstar John Romita Jr. He's been doing amazing work on the book already. He's done with the whole first issue and moving into the next several already, and it looks amazing. On Act 2, we have Olivier Coipel, who you all know from Thor. He's amazing, and he's going to be doing Act 2. And for the third act, we have Adam Kubert, another perennial Marvel superstar, who's just finished drawing Wolverine 300, which is on sale soon, and did the last issue of Schism, as well as myriad other works in his time. And they are, 3 artists, top of their game, and people are not going to be disappointed at all with the art on these books. Go ahead,
I
Ed.
think the stuff we're seeing from Johnny so far is like the best stuff I've ever seen from him, maybe.
Absolutely. Let's go back to Twitter. How will Bucky Barnes' Winter Soldier be affected? Ed, you want to take this one?
As long as my dog doesn't start barking. Sorry about that. Bucky, at this point, I think since we're just launching his book in February, it's another situation like Matt's book with Defenders, where we're just, we'll be just into our first arc at the point that this story starts. So as of now, we don't really have any Bucky tie-ins to Avengers X-Men. He will be, like most comic fans, a rapt observer. And hopefully we can find a way to do something with him in it, though.
Absolutely. Next, we're going to go to our live stream chat, where Albert Ching asks, was Storm joining the Avengers predicated on this event, or was that a separate decision? Brian, you want to take this?
Hi, Albert. Separate decision. Happy, not accident, but a nice thing we were planning. Me and Tom had talked about having Storm on the Avengers for years, and never really fit. And then one day it just kind of fit. And then soon after, we started talking about AvX, and we're like, ooh, I'm so glad Storm's an Avenger. This makes the story all that much better.
Absolutely. Next, we're going back to Twitter. Does Avengers, the Children's Crusade, play into this? And if so, how? Tom, you want to take this one?
Yes. Absolutely, Avengers: The Children's Crusade does play into this. The ending of Crusade, which we're about 2 issues out. The 8th issue ships, I think it's the last week in December. And then the 9th issue, a month or 2 after that. It finishes up the backstory on where the Scarlet Witch has been. It positions her where she is now, where she'll go directly into AvX 0. It'll also kind of set up and calibrate how the X-Men feel about her, how the Avengers feel about her, how the world feels about her, how she feels about herself. So it too has been a long road to kind of get her to the place where she's in position to move into this larger AvX story.
The last script of Children's Crusade is just dynamite. It's absolutely crushing. It's tremendous.
Awesome, thank you. Now we go back to the live stream chat, where Quasar has made an appearance. I mean, I didn't think he was around anymore, but he asks, will the cosmic characters be involved?
Of course it's a cosmic question.
Am I involved? I'm Quasar.
Put me in, coach. I still got it in me.
Call me Marvel Ball.
The the cosmic characters will be involved, and you'll get a little bit better beat on that once you get more information about the Phoenix and what the Phoenix is doing, and get a little more lowdown on some of the side books in the Avengers. So
Yeah, certainly,
They're already involved if you read the point one.
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. So the answer, Quasar, yes, you may get an appearance. Then we're going back to the live stream chat where Vanessa Torlin asks, Charles Xavier has been keeping his distance. Will he play a role in AvX? Jason, you want to field this as X-Men writer?
Sure. Yeah, we've certainly talked a lot about Xavier's role, and you know, he can't just stand on the sidelines. I don't want to say too much in terms of how things escalate as AvX goes along, but yeah, Xavier is going to have to be involved in some way or another.
Absolutely. All right. Several fans have asked on all the different streams if and how the younger Avengers and X groups will factor into this. The Jean Grey school kids, the Avengers Academy kids, etc. Tom, you want to talk to this a little bit?
Yeah, I'll speak to it a little bit.
And then we can go to Jason.
Yeah, all of the characters involved. I mean, you know, the principal players are clearly going to be the key Avengers and the key X-Men. But given that so much of the staging for what goes on, the X-Men are all in more or less in one or two single locations. Utopia, which has a large population of, you know, sort of secondary younger mutants, and the Jean Grey School, which is similarly so. There's sort of no way to keep the sum total of X-Men out of this story. And on the other hand, particularly as events escalate, as the Firebird from space gets closer, as the Earth is more in peril and the stakes rise, the Avengers are going to need to field every single asset that they can get their hands on, and that's going to include the younger, more in-training heroes who've been hanging out at the Avengers Academy, possibly the young Avengers, and all the various tools at their disposal to deal with the situation. So you will absolutely, you know, they may not get as much screen time as a Captain America, a Cyclops, or a Wolverine, but you'll see a wide bevy, a wide variety of characters from you know, both segments of the Marvel Universe, and really the whole Marvel Universe in one big, crazy, massive story. So yeah, everybody will get a panel or two here or there where they're positioned under somebody else's arm or peeking out from behind somebody else's torso as they're throwing a punch. Everybody's going to get a little bit of screen time.
We're going to actually see Magneto reading an old issue of Quasar. So, I'll get it.
Not even sure where that's coming from.
That's my dog.
All right. Our next question comes from Twitter. How big a role will Nova play after his encounter with the Phoenix Force in the Point One? Axel, you want to talk about this a little bit?
You know, again, I'm going to punt this one a little bit. What I will say is that, you know, you've seen a glimpse of Nova in the Point One special. He's obviously going to play a role in this event. We have big plans for Nova, and you'll get your first glimpse of him in this event. What role he plays, you know, the degree to which he gets involved in the action, I think it's better that you just wait and see. What I can say is, Nova fans, you'll be excited.
Excellent. Another question from Twitter. How big a role will S.H.I.E.L.D. play in the story? Brian, why don't you talk about this?
A pretty big one. You know, what you're going to see is an opportunity for a lot of players in the Marvel Universe to pick new allegiances and new sides, and with that will come kind of a new system of world peacekeeping organization, not only in AvX, but what's going on in Avengers right now with the Hammer Norman Osborn saga in both the New Avengers and Avengers. Mm-hmm. So by the time AvX is done, we'll be in a place where a lot of new will be involved, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of the things that you will be surprised by its potential reinvention.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you. Next, we have a question. A lot of fans have been asking how the Avengers and X-Men limited series, Avengers vs. X-Men limited series, will affect and be affected by the various ongoing X-Men and Avengers series. Now, we touched on this a little bit before. This event has huge effects on every X-Men book and every Avengers book. None of them are untouched by this event. they'll be, yeah, it hits everything. Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about this as well?
Yeah, I think the one exception, the one book within our sphere that's not going to be touched by this, and it's a very deliberate choice on our part, is the new Avengers Assemble title. And really the reason that we're launching Avengers Assemble was to have a nice, clean, easy, one-stop shopping place where people who go out and see the Avengers movie, which looks incredibly awesome, can come and get their Avengers fix. We knew that AvX was coming. We knew that there was going to be no way that we were not going to be able to deal with AvX, its fallout, its spillover in Avengers and New Avengers and Secret Avengers and all of these books. So that one title we're really launching that more than anything else to give you that one nice safe harbor. Apart from that, though, if you're talking about Uncanny X-Men or Secret Avengers or Wolverine and the X-Men or New Avengers, you can expect to see on a month-by-month basis for the whole of this event the crux of AvX and all of the various angles on it play out in all of these titles. That having been said, we're going to try and keep it from going really beyond that. But yeah, it's going to be all AvX all the time when it comes to Avengers and X-Men books.
Absolutely. Excellent. Now we have a question from the live stream chat from Matthew Weddle. This is for Ed Brubaker. Can you tell me where you buy your hats? I'm not really sure. Well, Ed, go ahead.
I honestly have no idea. My wife buys them.
So to recap, Ed has a dog. People who work the grounds of his stately manor.
Oh, man.
Ed Brubaker, you are the 1%.
Shut up. I'm in a rental. The landlord set up the gardeners.
Plural.
We are learning a lot about you, though. We are learning a lot about you.
I have a dog. I have hats. Where's this hat from? Let me see.
You're like a real person to me now, Ed.
Oh, J. Crew.
Ed Brubaker, he's sold in the earth. He doesn't know where he gets his hats. He's got gardeners all over the place and a dog.
Okay.
No, this is like Ed rented a house just for this event.
Yeah.
Well,
that is it exactly.
That wraps up the fan-related questions part of this event. We want to thank all of you out there for joining us for this landmark event for us. We hope you're all as excited about Avengers vs. X-Men as we are. Remember, it's 12 issues. It starts coming out in April with a prologue issue in March with the Avengers vs. X-Men 0. On it are our 5 architect writers, Brian Michael Bendis, Ed Brubaker, Jason Aaron, Jonathan Hickman, and Matt Fraction. And our artists on the book are John Romita Jr., Olivier Coipel, and Adam Kubert. Thanks again for joining us today. And you know, if you want to watch this video or tell your friends where to watch it, they can go to Marvel.com. And go to Marvel.com for all of your Avengers vs. X-Men news. Thank you all very much.
And go buy Defenders.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Ed.
Avengers vs. X-Men is one of the most aptly titled events in the history of comics events. It is
the 2 premier flagship families of Marvel Comics.
Slamming right against each other, butting heads.
You're going to get to see who's stronger.
It is truly the one Marvel event you can't afford to miss.
There's never been an Avengers vs. X-Men super blowout, so it's almost like we have to do it.
First time we all sat down after Axel was editor-in-chief, and Axel was like, X-Men versus Avengers, it's time.
Pair these great writers with 3 of Marvel's biggest artists.
John Romita Jr.,
Olivier Coipel,
Adam Kubert.
They're top of their game, top of the field.
This is it. This is a big damn story.
It literally has everything a fan of superhero comics could possibly want.
We're going to go, balls to the wall, widescreen, big ideas, big action, big moments.
Like Civil War, there will be a winner and there will be a loser.
Only one's going to come out on the other side.
It's going to impact every book that we have.
We as creators are scared of it. We're nervous.
We're doing it. It is bigger, badder, and more berserk than anything Marvel's ever done.
Marvel, your universe.